One of the biggest frustrations in the C-suite is we don't trust marketing. We don't understand what they're doing. We're just kind of, it's a necessary evil and we have to market. Where the real substance is when you stand on your own values and you know what they are and you're making them clear. They need to know that you care about me first. I need to know you care about my company. You can't just say it. You have to actually care. A lot of marketers, they just think everybody just shows up and just says marketing things. Social media, it's all the rage. We want more social media. They just think that everybody's as dumb as they are about strategy. We have a lot of charlatans out there. They're the sophists, even if they don't realize they are. Let's think a little bit about how to sell strategy. Because I think a lot of times what we have are, so in the classics, I think they had sophistry. And I think what we have the same thing in marketing. We have people who are good at strategy, but they suck with people. I had one strategist. He was literally in a punk rock band called the Gang of Four. He was the bassist, I think, a British guy. And he was like, yeah, I tell my clients, I don't care what you want. What I care about is what your customer wants. He's more concerned with substance than, whether we're pleasing you. What he was pointing out there is a difference between sophistry and actual rhetoric, I guess. Now, sophistry and the logos of rhetoric, right? So he's like, I'm right, listen or don't, right? I'm a punk rocker, F you, F the world, or whatever kind of thing. Now he's a cool guy. But but he was pointing out the difference between the logos part of and then sophistry. So if you take, some people might call sophistry a part of rhetoric. They're like, oh, that's just rhetoric. Classically, rhetoric wasn't seen as like, oh, that's just rhetoric. It's just someone trying to manipulate you. It is sales. I mean, it's marketing. You're trying to sell an idea. But there are three key parts of rhetoric. And some of those hold rhetoric accountable. So rhetoric is not good or bad. In fact, I'd say rhetoric with good values is very good because you're teaching and you're perpetuating ideas that are really important and good. So rhetoric, you have logos, right? And logos is the argument you make. And so with strategy, I think we can make a pretty compelling argument. In fact, I think it's devastatingly compelling because what you're really doing is you're saying, I'm going to give you alignment in a way that you can understand CEO, COO, CFO. I'm going to give you something you can understand. One of the biggest frustrations in the C-suite is we don't trust marketing. We don't understand what they're doing. We don't understand what they do, right? We're just it's a necessary evil and we have to market. And they've heard things like 50% of your marketing is wasted. You just don't know what part. They've heard things like that. And they're just like, yeah, it's just kind of impossible to know. It's vague and human and it's out there. And I want to focus on what we do and the substance. And so these companies, the C-suite they're very focused on the logos and they're sick of the sophistry. They need the logos. They need the truth. They need a good strategy. But in order to sell to these people, you can't just be like, yeah, I don't care what you like, what you think. There's still an ethos and a pathos. And so if the logos is the substance of the argument, the pathos is like, I think that's the root word of like sympathy. And then the ethos, whether this is like who I am I right or wrong? Am I someone you can trust? Am I trustworthy? And that goes back to my values. And I think there's two ways to look at that. Do my values match up with your values? And are my values true regardless of your values, which I think the world needs more of. And I think that if you're the kind of person who's like, well, I want my values to match their values, now you get into sophistry. You get into, I'm going to sell this to you because I want to sell it to you, not because you need it. I'm not serving you. I'm here to serve myself. It's sophistry. And I'm willing to confuse you in order to get what I want, as long as you think that my values match your values, as long as I've done something to connect with you. So sophistry, I see it as rhetoric gone wrong, because you have something you're offering. It may or may not be good for them. In sophistry, in the worst kind of sophistry, it's not good for them. I would put gambling for a lot of people. I would put selling sugary things to people who don't have discipline. I would selling them an ad campaign that is popular but not good for them, or even I would even say that sophistry involves when I even think that it's good, but I haven't, like, I'm trying to sell you something that I do. And I want you to, oh, it's social media. I'm going to help you on social media. And they don't need social media. They need something else first, but you want them to focus on social media. It might not be good for them. You're not being good strategists. You're not really, and so you're selling something they don't really need right now. The pathos, you're like, yeah, I really care about your company. And usually pathos is there because you can't sell. It's hard to sell anything without pathos. And then what did I miss? And then ethos. Am I someone trustworthy? That's, I think, the biggest area where sophistry, where you move into sophistry, because I'm trying to connect with you and pretend we share the same values. I might even pretend to stand on my values if I think that's what you want to hear in order to buy from me. When in reality, I think what the world needs more of and where the real substance is when you stand on your own values and you know what they are and you're making them clear. You don't have to tell them everything. You don't have to go in detail about biblical truths in order to be like, hey, I'm a person who stands on my values and they're consistent. I know what I stand for and I know who I answer to. And it's not you, but I want to help you because I answer to him, right? And so that's an example. And so you know what you're about, and you're about something good that's bigger than you, bigger than them. When you decide it's about you instead of them, or even your family, I need to provide for my family, and there's all kinds of pride and all kinds of things tied up in that we don't always understand. Now it's about you, and it's not about their good. And from the Christian standpoint, they're good in God's glory. It's not about that. It's about me now. And so the sophistry is where things start going wrong. The ethos, I think, is where things go really wrong because I don't care. The ethos is going to make you not care whether the product is good for them. You convince yourself, you look deep enough and you're like, oh, I can sell that. I know enough. I'm not going to really do any research or exercise curiosity to find out anything about that. I'm just going to go and start selling it. And so I think that's the first step is understanding the difference between rhetoric and its opposite, which is sophistry, or a subset, as some people would say, of rhetoric, which is sophistry. And those people might say there's a good way and a bad way to do it. And I think, to sum it up, I think the ethos, you have to believe in something and it has to be true and right and good. And at least believe in something bigger than yourself if you can't get that. At least believe in something bigger than yourself that you're transparent about. And then where it goes wrong is when people decide, hey, this is about me. I don't really care about the client or the customer. This is about me. If I see red flags that tell me this is not good for them, then I don't care as long as they still pay me. That's the biggest area it goes wrong, because then the pathos, you can always manipulate people. Any good salesperson is going to be able to pretend they care. And then the logos, because even though logos is the substance, people don't always understand marketing strategies. So you can sell them a lot of wrong things if your ethos is wrong. And so I'll quit there. But I think what we need to do is we need to understand that about selling strategy, that we do have something superior because we are using logic and reason, and we're taking research and we're saying, what is the truth about this whole situation? Here's where the company is. Here's where they need to be. How does marketing increase the revenue part of that helps them get there? And be able to make a clear case, a clear, compelling case. And I think really where we win is when we're saying, here's something you can understand. The logos is there. I'm not selling you snake oil. The logos is there because we can take your assumptions. You're talking to the CEO, COO, CTO, whatever, about your company and about your products and about what you do. And we're going to take those and we're going to maybe refine them with some research or whatever, but you're going to understand all of it. And then we're going to give you something that's bulletproof and solid. Yeah. Will we fine tune it over time? Yeah. But are we going to measure it? Yeah. We're going to measure it. It's going to be accountable, internally consistent. It's going to be accountable. It's going to be measurable. And it's going to be based on sound principles. And yeah, are we going to learn as we go? Yeah, if we're paying attention and we're curious, and you should be. Every strategist is curious because they're trying to figure out the battlefield and trying to see what is really going on there. What can be improved, where are the opportunities, where are the threats? And you're always evaluating those things and you're looking around and making sure things are working right. And so you're bringing them that logos. you're probably, hopefully, bringing them some pathos. And I think that's an area where strategists can be a little bit like for me, I'll be honest, I don't care about people's families as regarding their birth date. Like, I don't know, everybody's like, oh, it's so and so's birthday, huh? Or I'm going to send them something on their kid's birthday or something like that. I don't really care about that unless I know their kids, right? Like, to me, it seems ungenuine. But some people are like, no, wow, you knew my kid's birthday, and man, I need that. And I'm not like that at all. And so for me, I'm missing that part of pathos. But what I really do care about is I care about their company because I know it impacts their family. Do I care about the birth date of the kids? No. I'm focusing on where I can make the most impact on the greater good because I care about them, their company, and their family. And if I don't, I'm probably not wanting to work with them at all. And so the pathos, we all have different ways of doing that. And I think a lot of strategists suffer from the inability to be sympathetic sometimes because we're like, oh, yeah, you're doing this. You need to do this. Seems super clear to me. Don't know why you don't understand it already. I learned this a little bit in teaching when you had students you would share something, a principle, and you would assume they already knew some things. And so then they would say, yeah, I don't get that. And you'll be like, well, explain to me what you think I'm saying. And then they'll say it and you'll be like, oh, that's the problem. And then you meet them where they're at and then you draw them through argument and through sharing, assumptions or questioning their assumptions, you draw them to the conclusion, to the correct conclusion. A little bit Socratic, right? Because you're trying to get them to where you are. Now there's definitely a pathos there. But a lot of us, when we're selling, we're not sympathetic a lot of times, or we don't seem sympathetic. Maybe we're like, yeah, that's true. But what we need to do is tactical and we need to give you substance. And they're like, yeah, but I need to know that you care about me first. I need to know you care about my company. You can't just say it. You have to actually care. And so being able to tie some of those things that we do into like, here's why it matters for your company. Here's why I care about your company. And maybe it's really simple at first. Maybe it's really mundane. Like, I just want your sales to go up because I think it's going to help you. I think when you have cash coming in, that's going to help you do all these other things. And I'll tell you, frankly, here's where I see that pathos being exercised because I want to see people design beautiful businesses. And this strategy is such a part of that. And if strategy is not designed from scratch, it's not created from scratch, then to me, you're just tacking stuff on. And I don't know if the marketer really cares about your company or really even knows how to care. A lot of marketers, they just think, everybody just like shows up and just says marketing things. Social media, it's all the rage. We want more social media. They just think that everybody's as dumb as they are about strategy. Now, they might be really good at client service, but maybe they're not as good at strategy. So you have a lot of charlatans out there. They're the sophists, even if they don't realize they are. They're practicing sophistry, even though they may not realize they are. And so to sell strategy, so we went over the logos, which is very strong with strategy, selling strategy, because you're aligning things. You're making sure that they're not wasting energy, time on things that don't matter, that the leadership team has decided doesn't matter or is not in line with that. You have the pathos, which is, okay, we may need to work on connecting those things and making sure they know that the reason that I care about you doing these things is because I care about your company. I want to see you design a beautiful business, and I think this is a part of it. Now, that's what I have in my heart. What do you have in your heart might be different. So we have the logos, we have the pathos, and now the ethos. Do they trust me? Do they think I'm about the right things? So do they trust my ability to really understand the work, really understand, have a good point of view? Now, people talk about ethos as like, some people are just like, oh, it sounds like ethics, so it's ethics, and it's not. But part of it is ethics. Part of it is what are your values. So you've heard that they have to like you and trust you. That's the pathos and the ethos in order to buy your logos, right, from you. And so the ethos is kind of a combination of a few things. It's like, do they think your values are good? Think about trust. I might trust you to mow my lawn, but I don't trust you alone with my wife or my kids or whatever, right? But maybe I trust you to mow my lawn. I also trust you with my wife and my kids, but what am I hiring you for? So as a marketing strategist, do I trust you to know strategy? Do I trust you to be able to fulfill the promise and be as analytical as you say you are? And to understand my situation and to really customize something to me like you say that you can from scratch because you're a strategist, not just a planner, not just someone who brings the same process to every company you run into. You're actually going to customize it so that I can understand it and control it. Can you express everything to me? Like, how's the reporting? Are you going to report every single Google Analytics, piece of data on the dashboard, and I'm going to be swimming in data and not understand a bit of it? Are you going to respect my time enough to report well? And are you going to grow in all these areas? Do you care about these things, right? Do you care about them? And do you have the skill to do them? And so people want to work with people that have character because they can trust them. And they want to work with people who have the abilities because they can trust them to do the work. So they can trust them to be about the right things and care about the right things and make the right decisions at a high level. And then at a low level, I can trust them as well to actually execute. And so let's do and wrap it all together. And I think the thing that's missing, so we have the ethos, pathos, logos. The logos is the substance. We're selling strategy, which is objectively good for every marketing strategy. Yeah, we have some problems expressing that because maybe we lack the pathos to tie it all in for them. That's often why there's an account manager and a strategist on creative teams at big agencies like Wieden & Kennedy, because you need the account manager provides the pathos, and then the account planner provides the logos, and then together they all share the same ethos, which is we together. The account manager loves you. Account manager loves you and likes you. I care about your best interests. And it's kind of like and then together we all have the same values. We want your business to do well, and we have the ability to do it. We want it. We want the right thing, and we have the ability to do it. One other example, and I think this is like the account manager and the strategist. I heard someone say in California, if you get a flat tire, someone's gonna pull off the road and just be like, "Oh man, bummer, bro. Really sorry about that." They're gonna be really sympathetic and everything. And if you're in Boston, they're gonna pull over and they're gonna chew you out, but they're gonna help you with your tire. They're gonna chew you out for not being ready, for not being prepared, but they're gonna change your tire. So you have the substance. In California, you have the pathos. What if you're able to combine the two really skillfully and say, hey, it's about the truth, because the truth is what's going to put food on the table of your employees and your business. It's going to actually bring in revenue. But we also need to make sure we're connecting with you and your business with pathos. Like, we care about your business. If you don't care about their business, then you're a little bit like the Bud Light people who hated their core customers. And to me, that's where that's the anti-pathos. Sorry, pathos? Yeah, anti-pathos is where you just you're trying to connect with people so you can use them and take their money. You just want them to buy from you and you hate them. And to me, anybody who buys from you, you should like them and you should want what's best for them. And that's part of treating people with respect, is actually respecting them. And so I think that's really where it comes down to is, what is my heart like? Am I selling something good? Logos. Is my heart right toward them? Pathos, because that's the easiest way to actually show pathos, is to be sympathetic, to want what's best for them, to understand their problem, to be frustrated with them, and then to also want the solution that they need for them. And then the ethos, which is, am I trustworthy? And am I about the right things? Am I trustworthy and am I about the right things? We share values probably. We both desire excellence and not just doing it the normal way. And then we also have the trustworthy, as in I can do the work, part of pathos. And so I think that about wraps it up. And I hope this has made sense, and I hope it's encouraging to you, because it is hard to sell strategy. And I think we need to put a little more thought and work into it in order to really be good at it.